So something I constantly see artists just always discussing now is this mystical idea of niche. Like, especially on social media, you know, now that all these amazingly talented people are forced to flatten their skills into digital files and upload them, all they have to think about is what is my niche, what do I do, what's my, you know, primary target audience, and all this stuff, right? All these things that should never enter the mind of somebody who's trying to make a great painting. They should just focus on the painting. And I've thought about this question myself. You know, making things on social media is, of course, something that's crossed my mind. And it took me a while of thinking about this to really realize there's no such thing. When you're making art, there's no such thing as niche. If you are trying to make outfit videos or something, yes, you have a niche of fashion, and, you know, people that like fashion, you're going to target them, blah, blah, blah. If you are making art on the internet, whether it is music, whether it is paintings, whether it is, you know, maybe you're making clothes, you know, whatever it is, if you're a writer, there is no such thing as a niche for you. It does not exist, and the idea is actually only holding you back. I can guarantee it is leading to you making far worse art than if you just drop this idea forever. Now, what do I mean? The idea of a niche is basically saying that my art will never hit everybody. This is not something that everybody can enjoy. It must hit a specific group of people. Let's say you make music, right? People will be like, okay, I make kind of electronic-esque things. It's a Charlie XCX kind of niche, you know, hyperpop. I have to market in that direction. I have to use those aesthetics. I need to target those audiences. Maybe that it can work. It can be great. It can work for making an audience. You know, you can get your TikTok followers that way. I'm not going to deny that at all. You know, if I put on a wig and a blue button up and position myself as like, I'm TikTok Bob Ross, probably get a lot more followers than I had right now. But the art would guaranteed be worse, right? Because whenever you try and target somebody, you are missing the idea of targeting everybody, right? Within art, you can 100% target everyone. You are the niche. Your mind is the niche of whatever art is. I'm not saying that like everybody on earth is capable of being like the next Andy Warhol and like they're going to be super famous and everywhere. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that within art, there is always an opportunity to appeal to everybody. There is no such thing as a defined audience for art. Because art is just for humans. Like, art is for humans. This is the biggest thing that's helped me through so many things of trying to be like, who watches my stuff? What is my niche? There's no such thing. Art is for humans. People can enjoy anything once it gets in front of them. That's what social media does. Now, I'm going to go into why this is in a second, but I also want to talk about why it's limiting you, right? Because anytime that you are creating something while actively thinking about, like, what will people think of this thing, it won't work. I mean, even I think you could make an argument that the paintings I make here every day are way worse than if I did this offline, just because I'm thinking about the fact that there's a camera on them right now. I don't think about the camera anymore because I've done this long enough that like I don't really register the fact that these paintings are going out. Most of them are so bad that I had to give up on the fact of impressing anyone a while ago. You know, that opportunity is long gone. But even with that, like, I think you could probably still say I'm worse off recording these than I am if I were to do these paintings on my own. I think any time that you are thinking about an audience, that you are thinking about a person as you create something, you are 100% losing out. Because you're not going to put 100% of yourself in it then. And that's what you need to do to make art amazing, right? Art is universal. Art is always abstract too. This is why you don't need a niche, because art is for everybody, as I said. What do I mean by that exactly, though? What do I mean by saying art is for humans? It sounds like a tagline that would look great on a laptop sticker. I've been thinking of getting one made. But like outside of the dumb catchphrase, what does that actually mean? Well, what it means is that whenever you consume a piece of art, you are taking it in an abstract way, right? You are not just like, when you listen to a song, you are not directly listening to the lyrics and going like, man, I relate to this. You are listening to some abstract version of the lyrics. So why people say music is poetry, right? I'm gonna use Kendrick Lamar as an example. I'm an upper middle class white kid or whatever. Most of my friends are too, right? Not most of my friends, but like, none of my friends grew up anywhere near where Kendrick Lamar would have grown up, right? 100%. However, when most Kendrick Lamar songs go on, they relate to them for some reason. They all, despite being, I mean, this is the classical example of a Kendrick Lamar fan, right? Is like, it's a white kid who grew up wearing like boat shoes and khaki shorts who's like, man, like, really relate to this. And it's funny, it's weird, right? Because it's like, why? Like, in no way do you relate to it. And I see why it's a meme. And I'm not going to say these people relate to it as much as somebody who maybe did grow up in that area or did have those experiences that are reflected in the music, but they still do relate to it. They're not lying. They relate to it because they relate to an abstract form of it. You know, Father Time's a great example. I remember I was at a Red Veil concert in Williamsburg, and when Father Time came on before, you know, Red Veil came out, he was playing a bunch of other music. Father Time came on. I watched every white kid in that mosh pit, like, link arms and sing along to it, right? It's about, you know, a very specific thing. The song Father Time, I'm not going to try and do an analysis here. I'm not going to become the white guy analyzing Kendrick Lamar. I can only be the white guy talking about other white guys like Kendrick Lamar. But the song Father Time is about a very specific thing, right? In some regard, though, clearly these people relate to it. They were singing it with their whole hearts. Why? Why is that? Like, they don't relate to it directly. Why do these people relate to it despite having no experience in common with it? Well, they relate to an abstract form of it. Do they relate to Kendrick's exact experience with his father? No. Did they grow up in a similar environment to that? No, not at all. Can they relate to somebody being hard on them? Can they relate to somebody's expectations getting to them? 100%. Everybody can. In one way or another, everybody can relate to that, right? Is that a reductive form of the song? Yes. Could you make the argument that somebody who grew up with experiences that were one-to-one exactly what Kendrick's were relates to that song more? I think it's an angle you could take. I think that's kind of impossible to prove or disprove, right? I'm not against that interpretation of things. I think that makes some sense. But the fact remains that all these, you know, white kids at the Red Veil concert in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, related to this song about a story taking place all the way in Compton, California, years and years ago. That's profound. Like, sometimes we take art for granted. We take it, you know, the stuff on the radio is the most mainstream. That's what everybody can relate to. You know, everything else is some derivation of that. You know, I relate to this artist because I have experiences similar to them, blah, blah, blah. We take it for granted just how insane it is that that can happen. That somebody with his experiences can write those words down and they can travel all across the world, and people with other experiences can relate to his, empathize with his, understand better where he came from and where they came from because of that. That's insane. That's awesome. Now I want you to imagine an alternate reality where Kendrick Lamar, instead of writing the song Father Time, sat down and was like, you know what I'll do? I will, you know, he's writing the lyrics to the song and he goes, all right, you know, I'm writing about my upbringing here. I'm writing about all these things that happened to me, but I'm willing to bet that people won't really relate to that. So I'm gonna make the lyrics more general, you know, and instead of Father Time, I'll name it Parent Time, something, you know, some bullshit like that, right? I would be willing to bet I would actually put my whole bank account, has 7 cents in it right now, but I'd put my whole bank account on this. That would be a worse song. If he was thinking, you know, when he wrote this song, oh, well, they might play this at the Red Veil concert in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and there's going to be a bunch of white kids there, and let's see if they dance to this, it would, you know, he would make a worse song. He would. Because he would try and pander to everybody who would end up pandering to nobody. When you pander to somebody, you pander to everybody. 100%, because they can relate to something in that. When you end up trying to pander to everybody, you kind of just say nothing. And since you're not pandering to somebody, you're not pandering to anyone, right? Obviously, that's a really goofy, cartoonish example. You know, the idea of Kendrick sitting down, thinking about this song of, you know, I need to make this accessible for the white kids who are this concert in 3 years is insane, right? That's a funny, dumb example. But this is what you do when you sit down as an artist and go, I need to find my niche on social media. You are the niche. You need to sit, instead of doing that, instead of sitting down and being like, what is my niche? Who am I to this audience? Who do I want to target? You need to sit down and think, how can I make something that I relate to, that I feel on a deeper level than I've ever made before? Because doing that is how you're actually going to make something good. That's how you're actually going to make something that people can relate to. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, this is the cheat code to make something, you know, that is going to get 1 million likes and do fantastic. No, not at all. I have no idea. I have no way of saying that. You know, if I had the cheat code to get 1 million likes, I would have 1 million likes by now. And I don't have 1 million likes by any means. But I can say for certain that you're deluding yourself by trying to make something that appeals to everybody. That's just impossible. It's impossible to make something that appeals to everybody, and you're not everybody. You are an artist. You are somebody. You are making art around a specific vision, around experiences that you have had. Make it that way. It will find its people, right? The algorithm is great at showing people things that they will keep watching. Someday, it might not be as fast as if you sell out and just do, like art that I made this week. Like it might not be as fast as that, right? It might take longer because you are not niching down. You are not doing something, it's easy to make something and put those tags in there and get sent to all the same viewers as another creator and do that, right? And people might even like it, people will like the art, but you're still limiting yourself. I think every day of the week I will bet, and I will say to all of you, and maybe I'm wrong, I could be sitting here in 5 years with nobody watching these, and it's not a theory that paid off at all, and I should have just, niched down and done the traditional social media thing, but I will bet every day of the week that doing something that is yours, doing something that is more specific, and doing it 100% of the way will get you farther than trying to be somebody else and making something worse. Maybe it'll take 5 more years, maybe it'll take 10 more years. If you are making things with your whole heart and you are making them your way, they will find their audience. They will find their crowd. They will find the people it speaks to because you've made something that can actually speak. And for that, you will be around way longer than the guy who's just following a niche and making something general and getting the short-term benefit of just likes because of that. That's my take. So I don't know why I went all Tony Robbins today. This is terrible. This is a terrible painting. This is actually such a bad painting. I don't know why these shadows are so, I use this brush for the shadow. I guess it's easier to put it here. I use this brush for the shadows. Does this look this dark? Does this that's a little better, I guess. I don't know, guys. The shadows are really messing me up on this. And then I threw in the back and it's just messy now. I guess probably just better to go for it, right? Just let it be messy then. Maybe do a little bit of that. I don't know. These are meant to be messy, they're meant to be fluid, so I don't mind it too much, but this is just bad. I don't like this at all. I have no visual appeal to this. And what is this shape too? I got the form all wrong here. The reds aren't high contrast enough, so it kind of just looks like, this isn't good. This is just a bad painting. Don't check this out on Instagram, and until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 240, and I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.